Well, hey guys, how's it going? Sean here with another GP vlog video. Hey, you know what? I still do those, I guess. But anyway, so getting a lot of questions about the Grand Prix, the gray one. I think the first one I'll address is Rocket. Why do I call it the Gray Rocket? Well, my fiance Danielle, she names all of her vehicles. Something that I've never done. Sometimes I call it an asshole or whatever. But um, the so it kind of spread to my cars, and I've got Beep the Jeep now, uh, Rocket, which is the Black Grand Prix, and now Gray Rocket or Rocket 2 sometimes. I don't know. I shouldn't name it because I'm going to be getting rid of it anyways. Just like a litter of cats or something like that. Don't name them because then you get attached to them. But anyway, so yeah, that's why it's called the Gray Rocket or Rocket 2, just because. But anyway, so to answer some questions, I've been debating back and forth as far as exactly what I'm going to do with the gray car, but I'm definitely leaning towards just parting it out. Obviously, there's some parts that I need, so I'm not going to just part the whole thing out. The main thing that I'm after is the motor, so that's definitely staying with me. If anyone is interested in a rebuildable LS4, though, my motor out of Rocket, obviously you can have that. I know that the MN7 4T65 EHD is a desirable transaxle. At least it's harder to find, that is, because it was only for the LS4. And to answer another question, the guts of the 4T65E HD MN7 are a little bit different than the any other motor line. The 3800, the 3800 supercharged. I don't know if they put that same thing in the 3.6 liter. Maybe they did. I think maybe they did. Maybe the 3.9. I can't remember. I don't remember when they stopped making that transaxle. I know they did the 6T65. You guys would know. Shit, I'm not trying to sound smart here. But anyway, so it was used in a lot of different motors. So the MN7 is unique to the LS4. But another question, and I've gone over this before on my channel. Another question is it just the power that these transaxles can't handle? Is it something else? What is going on? Well, it's a combination of a lot of different things. The LS4 was the only motor on the 4T65E that had the displacement on demand. And you got to think that 2005 was kind of the introductory or inaugural year for cylinder deactivation. They call it DOD or AFM, active fuel management. They try to sound all smart with their marketing and stuff, but really all it is a complication, an extra variable in the motor that can wear out. I mean, we all know that complexity is the enemy of reliability. That's just the way that it is. And these guys that are hot rodding these LS1s, LS6, you don't have to deal with any of that crap. You literally don't. You don't have any variable valve timing or dual overhead cams or all this complicated stuff to not only try to squeeze more power out of these motors, but also be fuel efficient and comply with government regulations, things like that. So the LS4 is introduced as a V8 that gets good gas mileage, which actually it doesn't. I think it's about 15% better than the 3800, or excuse me, 15% fuel savings, not over the 3800, but over 8-cylinder mode. Whatever, it's still early. But anyway, the V6 still got better fuel economy. The dry weight, though, I know of the LS4 was lighter than a L32. that is dry weight. I don't know about the accessories and so on, but yeah. So it's not just the horsepower and torque that went to the transmission. It was also the torque converter having to deal with the 4 and 8 cylinder modes constantly changing. You're on the highway, and they had to come up with some tricks to make sure that when you're in 4 cylinder mode, you don't feel shaking or rattling or anything else like that. They had to do some tricks, and those torque converters just, they cry for help. So, if you happen to have any vehicle with an LS4, deactivating that DOD or AFM is probably the first thing you should do. Especially if you've rebuilt your transmission, get rid of it. You're only going to save a couple miles per gallon on the highway. It's not, in my opinion, worth it because you're going to be, spending at least $2,500 on a full rebuild, especially if you don't do it yourself and you got to have a shop do it or whatever. It's a lot of money, and the extra couple of miles that you're going to get on a trip, let's just say 15, 20 miles on a tank. How much is that going to save you? A couple bucks a trip? And you're definitely not going to, it's not going to add up to the amount that it's going to cost you to rebuild your training. Now, depending on, how hard you are on it, will obviously be another determining factor. That's for anything out there. But typically the MN7 had a lot of problems just because it wasn't designed, it was based on a tranny that went into a 140 horsepower V6. And, you can, beef up the clutches and whatever, but, it just wasn't meant for a V8 with all that torque. And with that extra cylinder deactivation, that causes even more complications. So, yeah, that's why they fail. They fail a lot. Some people have failures at 30,000 miles. Again, that has to do with not with the power, but the torque converter. Just it's a lot of stress on that torque converter. And then you've got you've got some that fail at 60,000 or 100,000. You'll start noticing something called rev and clunk, where you're sitting there at a stoplight or a stop sign, or you're just sitting there, or you're going from reverse to drive, and it'll hang up. It'll just kind of roll a little bit, and then it'll just snap itself into gear. I've got videos on this, so there's plenty of information on the internet about this. When that starts to happen, then the Transaxle Grim Reaper is definitely on its way. And for those who like to pour in something like Lucas, it is a temporary fix, and it may not even fix it to begin with. It just may not. It's just meant to harden seals and so on. And a lot of guys swear against it. A lot of guys say that it works great, but it's a lot of marketing. So just be aware of that. It may or may not help you. And if your clutches are gone, it's not going to help you. If your torque converter is gone, it's not going to help you. It'll help with seals. That's basically about it. It may improve pressure. That's just about it. And when you apply more pressure, when the oil pump is working harder to slam those clutches around, then yeah, of course it's going to get you to shift more often instead of missing gears or slow shifts or something else like that. But it's only a band-aid. It's only something that's, it's a temporary fix to a long problem, basically. And so eventually you're going to run out of time. But anyway, so very common. This, in the gray rocket, this has the exact same problem as my other one did. Now you guys know that I purchased a Stage 2 Triple H Performance kit from Dave at Triple H Performance, and then I pulled the motor and training out myself and had a transmission shop do all the work for me. I brought them all the parts. And you guys know, who have followed me, that the first time around was an issue. something didn't go in right, something, whatever the case may be. They ended up replacing all the clutches for free, rebuilt it again, then saved all the parts, all the hard parts. It wasn't like they, got a new chain or anything else like that. But just in case there was any internal damage, they replaced all the clutches and the seals. And so ever since then, it was fine. And I've got that big cooler on the front to keep the transmission. I've never seen it go above 180 degrees, ever. Even on our hottest days last summer, I never did see it go above 180, ever. Obviously city driving is going to bring that temperature up more. Going to work is all city for me. And of course on the highway, when it's just sitting in overdrive, then you're not going to have as much of a problem. But if your transmission is going, that torque converter is really struggling, your transmission temps are going to go up. And when that was happening, I was seeing 240s on my transmission, and sometimes I'd hit 252. I think is where the next stepper was on that gauge. But so anyway, that's why we have issues with these transmissions. It doesn't matter how good you maintain these. If you don't get rid of DOD, you're going to have problems. And you can pussyfoot around all day long, but what the hell's the point in that when you bought the damn car with the V8 for the extra power? And again, it doesn't matter how good you take care of these transaxles. You're guaranteed to have a failure between 100 and 200,000 miles. That's just it. It's going to be usually well in the first early stages of 100,000 miles. Some people can stretch it to 150. Mine went out at 160, 161, something like that. And I think somebody was in the transmission beforehand. But mine went out at 160. This one here, I didn't see anyone looking at the Carfax. It doesn't look like anybody was ever in the transmission. He's got 177,000 on the gray car, so it's finally going. And you might say, well, that sounds like it's a decently normal time for a transmission to go. No, it's not. Okay. My Beep, the Jeep Grand Cherokee that I've got, the 05 with the Hemi, it's got 223,000 miles on it, original transmission. My Yukon, my big green Yukon that I used to have, that had the 4L60, 4L65E, and that had almost 200,000 miles on it, no problems with the transmission. The Dodge Ram, that red Dodge Ram that my dad used to have, that had over 300,000 miles on it, no problems with the transmission. So no, between 100 and 200, it should not be normal in this day and age for a transaxle to go out. It shouldn't be. But anyways, so I'm leaning towards parting it all out, and I will have a transmission core for you guys, an MN7, if you want to buy that. Any of the stuff that I don't need, I'm going to part out, obviously. And what's great is that it's going to bring along a lot of great videos. A lot of great videos on tearing the whole thing apart, down to the body. And even then, if someone's interested in a Grand Prix body, it's straight, it's solid, there's no rust, it's in really good shape, then, we can arrange for that as well. Otherwise, I'm probably just going to have a scrapyard come and pick it up and just say you can have it for free. You can, whatever, scrap it. It's a shame because, it's all in one piece right now. It's a 2008. It kind of brings a tear to my eye to have to tear it all apart, but this option is way better than going with the alternative. And as I said, I was looking for an LS4 block motor complete for the longest time. Found one or a couple for around $1,000, and they were already out of the car, so you don't know what you're getting, and unless you plan on tearing it all apart down to the block anyways, then you take a big risk. It's risky to drive somewhere to pick up a motor and bring it back, get it all installed, and then you find out that you've got 3 dead cylinders, or cylinder compression is bad, all around, or something else like that. I mean, it's risky. If it's a few $100, and you don't really care, fine, it's no big deal. But especially from a private owner, they could say, "Oh yeah, it ran like a dream when it came out," and then you've got no warranty, you've got no guarantees, you've got nothing, no contract that says it's going to work or I want my money back. You don't have any of that stuff, unless you buy it from a reputable shop that has the tools and the knowledge and can test it and make sure that it is in fact good and gives you a build out sheet or something else like that. So, um, you know, it was something that there was a couple times I was gonna go, pick up a motor, and I just decided, no, I'd rather just wait. And then this thing came along, complete car with a bad transmission. I was actually hoping something like this would happen, and I did. I found it, drove to Ohio to get it, and brought it back at a trailer. And I know the motor works great. It's got a rebuild. The motor had a rebuild 30K ago. Now, of course, just because the motor has a rebuild doesn't mean that it's perfect. I don't know how well the previous owner took care of it after it had its rebuild. They may have never changed the oil once in the whole thing. Who knows? But so that's just something I'm still going to do a motor flush on it. I'm still going to try to do a couple oil changes on it before I pull it, just to make sure that it's those lifters are working great, and that's basically it. Everything's going to be stripped out of the gray car first before the black car goes in the garage to have the motor transplant. So I will have some parts. Specifically, I will have a bad 4T65E MN7, and I will also have an LS4 that needs a rebuild. The number 4 cylinder is pretty much gone, so it's going to need a rebuild. But cheap parts, cheap stuff. If I'm able to get out what I put in it, great. And I didn't put very much into it, so it'll also make for some great videos for you guys. So I'm seeing a lot of parts requests on the video already. I am interested in parting it out, but I'm not going to start parting it out before it goes into the garage. Right now, because of my primary job, which you can see in the back here, I repair inverters. I've got my garage is literally full right now, so I'm on vacation right now. I'm going to spend some time working on that, getting the garage cleaned out. When I have it cleaned out, then I'll be able to get it in the garage and I'll start tearing it apart. I'll get some great videos for you guys. I've got my new A7R3, so I'll get some really great videos. I got really good lighting, so they're going to be nice versus when I was using my Note. Actually, it was the Note 4 at the time. And when I was putting these videos together, I was chopping together, there were parts that I'd forget, and I had to go back. And this is a great thing because everything is stock. Everything is as is. So I'll be able to step by step. And now that I know how to do this, and the motor is coming out the top, I don't care what you guys say. If you don't like me dropping, you're pulling the motor out the top, and you'd rather me drop it like GM intended, don't watch it. I'm not forcing you to pull your motor like I am. This is just how I prefer to do it. So you don't have to watch. You can go find another video. This is not going to be one of those, this is how you do it, you must do it this way. This is just how I prefer to do it. Maybe it'll take a couple extra steps. Maybe not. I don't know. I just don't feel like messing with things like the steering and the air conditioning and all that other stuff. I just want to leave it as is. So, yeah, that's pretty much about it. So yeah, it will be eventually parted out, and of course I'll let you guys know as things go along. If there's a part you're interested in, we'll work on a price or something else like that. But basically everything that I don't use is up for grabs, and that's it. And there's a lot of parts that I will not be using. So anyway, guys, I appreciate all of your time and effort. And by the way, if anyone out there knows a good way to restore aluminum on wheels, I would really appreciate that. Now, the '08 has non-alcohol wheels. non-desirable. It was the only year that they did not use the forged alcohol wheels. From a distance, they look great, but then when you get closer, you realize that they're just fake. And I might get a set of alcohol wheels for it. I don't know. I do like the blacked out wheels, but I'm not going to plasti dip. The plasti dip in the wheels looks great from a distance, but once you get closer, you realize that it's. I don't like the matte finish, that rubbery look. I don't like that. I like the shiny black. The Dale Earnhardt wheels that I have on my Black Grand Prix, they have a shiny black look. And I don't even know if that's possible with plasti dip. I'm not sure. Maybe you guys can fill me in on that to make wheels have a black shine to it. It's not going to look ridiculous or glittery or anything. It's just going to look like it was a factory shiny black clear coat or something else like that. Anyway, almost out of time here. So if you have any questions, let me know, obviously, and I will do my best to answer everything. I got a lot of work to do in the garage. I got a lot of work going on. So I'll do my best. And thanks again for your support and sticking with me. Got some great videos coming up with this new project. So take care.